close encounter with living legend Rick Baker and the out-of-this-world aliens he created for Men in Black.
I wonder what kind of childhood he had. You know, there must be some weird stuff going on in his crib at night.
We'll view never-before-seen footage as Baker invents new ways to transform Eddie Murphy into the Nutty Professor. We'll discover Baker's fascination with werewolves and learn how these mythical creatures, half man and half wolf, once terrified all of Europe. We have a date with genius, and we'll be chaperoned by some of the strangest, nuttiest,
it's a date,
and most amazing characters ever to grace the screen. Next on Movie Magic. What do nutty professors, werewolves, Bigfoot, and Bela Lugosi have in common?
It's a matter of recombinant ribonucleic acids unzipped by radioactive quinine peptide.
Close, but the correct answer is Rick Baker, considered by many to be the Michelangelo of modern makeup effects. Baker has won 4 Best Makeup Academy Awards for his work on The Nutty Professor, Ed Wood, Harry and the Hendersons, and An American Werewolf in London. In a makeup career that spans more than 40 films, Baker built this mechanical bat for Batman Returns. Created a gaggle of gremlins for Gremlins 2. Gave birth to a bulletproof baby for Baby's Day Out. And duplicated pandas for The Amazing Panda Adventure. Before a Rick Baker character reaches the screen, it is tested, tortured, and played with.
I think that's, again, what makes me me, is that I play and have fun playing, and I'll play with the puppets that we make, and then that's how I create. It's, you know, creative play. You know, and I get paid for it.
Men in Black headquarters. A place where men are men and aliens wait in line for passports. In the sci-fi adventure comedy Men in Black, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones star as secret agents who police Earth's intergalactic immigrants.
Compared to you humans, I'm on the top rung of the evolutionary ladder.
To supervise Jones and Smith's alien co-stars, executive producer Steven Spielberg and director Barry Sonnenfeld set their sights on Baker.
This is the closest we are to anybody.
You always want to pick Rick because he's the best at this in the world, and you never think you can get Rick. And I was very lucky.
You're gonna get sick, we're gonna have a hard time again.
In Men in Black, Baker's aliens use inventive disguises to try and pass as humans.
That's it, Mikey. Hand me your head. Now put up your arms and all your flippers.
Within Men in Black headquarters, aliens of all shapes and sizes appear in their natural form.
I'm gonna get away from that guy. He's grouchy.
Cut, right?
It's like, Rick, come on, man. Where'd that come from? Some of the creatures he created, like the slug guy, is just a big, nasty slug guy. You know, how do you dream that up?
For Baker, Men in Black offered a unique opportunity to strut his stuff.
There you go.
Men in Black was just like, you know, my whole life rolled into one movie, and as far as all the stuff that we made. We had makeups, we had guys in rubber suits, We had mechanical puppets. We had a little bit of everything.
Baker's first big-screen alien creations inhabit a remote cantina in the George Lucas classic, Star Wars. For Men in Black, Baker again tries to create an array of aliens as diverse as life itself.
Think of the varied life forms that we have on this planet and how different they are, how different a deep sea creature is than, than what you and I are. We were trying to do some way out things.
What does he think about? What is he eating at night to make him dream? That kind of stuff.
The universe is a large and varied place in our story.
One of the stranger inhabitants of the Men in Black universe is this tiny alien known as Chucky.
In the original script, Chucky lifted up his neck and a light came out. And we thought, well, that's not very cool. We could come up with a better idea. So we talked about it. We thought it'd be cool to do this little man inside a giant robot's head. They liked the effect, so they decided to write some lines for him.
To prevent contest to prevent
What are you trying to struggle?
war.
And I was moved, because he's so cute. And that was actually one of the first aliens that I saw when I came on the film, and that really charged me up. I was extremely excited after that.
Another of Baker's contributions were the caffeine-addicted, chain-smoking aliens known simply as the Worm Guys.
The Worm Guys are slackers, man, and they're like worms with arms and legs. So they look cool, and they're fun, but they're rude. They call you names and stuff when you come in the room.
Hi, fellas. There's no decaf, is it? Oh, don't tell me we just got that powdered stuff for cream. I hate that stuff. Oh, thanks.
In addition to creating aliens with puppets, Baker uses traditional makeup techniques to transform actor Vincent D'Onofrio into Edgar, a farmer whose skin is borrowed by an alien. Baker carefully adds protruding claws and spines to suggest the alien creature lurking within.
It just looks so real. It's like his skin is rotting off. You can't tell where the makeup starts and where Vincent stops, or where Vincent stops and the makeup starts.
Baker's aliens delighted even their toughest audience. The cast and crew who have worked on countless films and thought they'd seen it all.
It's really cool, isn't it?
Coming up, the real beasts that inspired movie Werewolves. And we'll have a front row seat as Baker turns Eddie Murphy into the Nutty Professor.
Thank you very much. I'm flattered.
Every year, Hollywood stars honor their elite at the Academy Awards. In 1981, a werewolf made a surprise appearance. For the first time ever, an annual Academy Award for makeup was given. The recipient was Rick Baker for his groundbreaking work on An American Werewolf in London. Before Baker, werewolves had howled their way through more than 40 films. The first recorded mention of a werewolf goes all the way back to the Greek philosopher Plato, who wrote of a legendary tyrant who transformed into a bloodthirsty wolf. During the Middle Ages, it was believed that werewolves were created through black magic. Because werewolves combined the fear of witchcraft and the fear of wolves, the belief in werewolves triggered one of Europe's greatest witch hunts. Between 1520 and 1630, 30,000 people accused of being werewolves were executed in France alone. French Parliament even passed a law expelling werewolves from the country. Humans were not the only ones to suffer. Wolves were hunted mercilessly in case they were a werewolf in wolf form. In 1764, a creature known as the Beast of Gévaudan began a 3-year reign of terror that paralyzed northern France. Exhibiting human cunning and ferocity, what is now believed to have been an oversized wolf killed more than 100 people before it was finally slain by a silver bullet through the heart. Today, the myth of the werewolf is kept alive by tabloids and Hollywood effects masters like Rick Baker. Baker also sank his teeth into a less fearsome makeup transformation when he turned Eddie Murphy into 400-pound Nutty Professor Sherman Klump. While making the Nutty Professor, Baker and Murphy became friends who stuck together through thick and thin.
What's nice is he's not afraid of the makeup. When you make him up, he like sits and looks at it, works with it, and makes magic. I mean, he really makes the makeups work. Because they don't look like makeups. They look like, you know, this real person.
When it was suggested to cut some of Murphy's characters to save money, Baker and Murphy rose to their defense.
So I called Eddie and I said, you have to get out here. We got to do some tests. We got to show them what they're going to cut out.
The makeup tests literally saved the Klump family's skin and allowed Murphy to play everyone at this dinner table except the child.
And it's one thing to be able to change your voice and to change your mannerisms and all that, but then they have whole skin too to go with it. That's real cool.
To reshape Murphy into the 400-pound Nutty Professor, Baker devises a form-fitting bodysuit that will add bulk without weighing down the actor.
And it's basically a big hollow pad. What we actually did is have pockets in there where we could put water balloons, basically, to make it bounce around and look like it has weight.
Nice sort of natural movement.
It's time to see if this stuff really works.
After the Nutty Professor drinks his miraculous weight loss serum, Murphy appears without makeup as Sherman's ultra-thin alter ego, Buddy Love. Hey! Baker's biggest challenge is showing the transition from Buddy to Sherman when the serum wears off. Baker's secret ingredients for startling transformations that take place right in front of the camera are inflatable bladders. These will be worn underneath Murphy's clothing.
Whoa!
Or even under a thin layer of makeup. When Baker is testing his illusions, even a single piece of chocolate can lead to a stunning transformation.
I thought it'd be really interesting to do fast transformation, to be able to inflate a huge bladder that had a specific shape to it. So we devised these big bladders that kept up most of Eddie's face and neck so that certain areas would blow up more than others and would conform to a certain specific shape. But we could also have a tank full of air that we could just throw a lever and it just dumps all this air into it. So it just goes and just swells up like that. You know? And it was pretty cool.
When Baker's inventive inflatables and spectacular makeup appliances are combined with computer animation by the digital team at Rhythm and Hues, Murphy's startling transformations bring new meaning to having a fat lip, a lead foot, and a split personality.
On my hand, you fat mother. Say one more word, buddy, I'll tear your arm off.
After 70 grueling 18-hour days during filming of The Nutty Professor, Baker had to say goodbye to Sherman Klump and the other characters he and Murphy created.
All of a sudden it was kind of like, I'm not going to see Sherman anymore, you know, and that was kind of a weird moment, a weird kind of sad day that, you know, my friend is going away, you know, and I'm fond of Sherman.
With his innovative makeups for The Nutty Professor, Baker has once again demonstrated that he is a top contender for Makeup Heavyweight Champion of the World. Coming up, we'll find out what Rick Baker does on Halloween and get a rare tour of his secret laboratory. This electrifying laboratory, built by legendary makeup artist Rick Baker, is one of his best-kept secrets, shown only to his closest friends, and now to movie magic. The inspiration for this monstrous monument came from the 1931 version of Frankenstein, the film that Rick Baker once begged his parents to see. It was a moment that Ralph and Doris Baker will never forget.
One night he came to me and he said that Frankenstein was on that night, but it was real late. So I stayed up with him and we watched it together.
I asked my father, I said, how is it this man has a square head? Where did they find this guy with a square head like that? And my father said that it's makeup. It's an actor, and his name's Boris Karloff, and he's wearing makeup to make him look like that.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I went to my mom one day and I said, how I keep talking about being a doctor all the time? I've decided now that what I want to do is make monsters. And it was like, oh, monsters. Well, that's nice, Ricky,
Since Baker's quarter-a-week allowance ruled out professional makeup materials, his first monsters were of the homemade variety.
My mom made some pie dough and make some food coloring in, and I'd pile this crazy pie dough on my face and kind of try to shape it into something. After the pie dough phase, I'd get Kleenex and just wet them and put them on my face and go, hey, look, I'm a mummy,
Baker's Kleenex phase was followed by this medley of masks and convincing wounds made from mortician's wax.
I'd make up all my friends in the neighborhood and third-degree burns and horrible gashes and bullet wounds, and I'd go home with them to see what their parents' response was.
We never knew what was going to come out of his room because he'd be in there for hours and all of a sudden out of his room would come a gorilla or an old man or just whatever. Look at that.
Yeah, I never did like that one.
No. It's a grotesque, really.
It is.
Yeah. And for Rick to be grotesque, that's unusual because...
Although his parents were Rick's first audience, Halloween was his special night to show his talent to the world.
This one Halloween, he made up like a gorilla, so kind of a little crowd gathered, and you could hear the kids say, that's real. And the other kids say, nah, that's not real. Yeah, it is. Look at those ears. They're real. And his mouth moves. I had a chain that I was holding on to Rick, and I pulled it, and it broke, and Rick took off after the kids. There wasn't any question then about the real gorilla.
As seen in this rare home movie footage of a backyard Halloween show, Rick Baker continued this fun and frightening tradition even as an adult. For these homemade Halloween shows, Baker worked alongside longtime friend and makeup professional Bob Burns. Burns contributed to such films as It Conquered the World and Invasion of the Saucer Men. Rick Baker was a teenager when he and Burns first met, but Burns' experience allowed him to recognize Baker's innate talent.
He brought some sketches, some masks and things he had played with. And I'm looking at stuff saying, wow, this looks pretty professional here for a 13-year-old kid especially. I could see the genius already. It was there.
40 films later, Baker still delights in creating spectacular Halloween makeups for himself and his family. He gets even more satisfaction from bewitching audiences with the spectacular creatures he brings to life on the screen.
I still have to kind of do a reality check, and it's like, look what you're doing, Rick. You know, you're making toys and you're playing with them, and you get paid well to do it.
In a career that has taken him from boy prodigy to living legend, Rick Baker has succeeded by doing what he loves best.
I think the difference between a good makeup artist and a great makeup artist is actually just the desire and the love to do it right. You know, I mean, I love what I do.
Like a modern-day Dr. Frankenstein, Baker transforms actors into people their own parents wouldn't recognize.
I mean, not that I want to sew together dead bodies and bring them to life, but I do like, you know, taking rubber and plaster and acrylic and aluminum and making something that looks alive and at least lives on film for a moment. And it's really thrilling. You know, I do feel like running around saying, "It's alive, it's alive."
Given Baker's enthusiasm and dedication, it's certain his makeups will continue to dazzle, amaze,
I know what healthy is.
and be mistaken for the real thing long after the Fat Professor sings.
Friday night, Friday night.